Welcome to the I Get Better podcast with your hosts, Charlene Renee and Phaedra Smith, where we discuss topics related to life, love, mental, physical, and spiritual health, and how we can all get better together.
Hello and welcome back to I Get Better. I'm Charlene Renee.
And I'm Phaedra.
And today we're going to be talking about how I get better when I get uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's a big word, uncomfortable. Nobody likes to be uncomfortable.
Right. But it's definitely necessary. So we're going to jump right into today's topic. First, we always like to start off with defining the word because the ability to define gives us the ability to fulfill.
Amen.
So let's talk about the word uncomfortable. We like to give you the dictionary version, but then we kind of give you our own little take on what it means to be uncomfortable. So according to the dictionary, uncomfortable is an adjective, and basically it means causing or feeling slight pain or physical discomfort, or causing or feeling unease or awkwardness. And of course, no one likes to feel awkward or unease or pain or discomfort.
Right.
So we definitely don't usually rush to say that we get better when we get uncomfortable. But after today, hopefully you all will have that same perspective because we're going to go over why it is so important to get uncomfortable sometimes.
Right.
And we say that as we're sitting comfortably in our relaxed seated positions right now. But we're going to get uncomfortable today. We're all going to get uncomfortable so that we can get to what's on the other side. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about why it's important to get uncomfortable.
So what are some examples of some barriers that get in the way of us getting uncomfortable, or not necessarily getting uncomfortable, but doing the things that we need to do in order to be successful in life? And I think some of those barriers might be, number one, being uncomfortable, but being uncomfortable about what? So is it I'm uncomfortable with failure? I'm uncomfortable with being embarrassed? What are some of the barriers that maybe cause you, Charlene, to not want to be uncomfortable?
Well, all of those things. I mean, comfort, like the word itself, like everybody likes to be comfortable. It's basically where it's the familiar. It's a place where things feel good, that you don't want to leave. Like when I think of comfort, I guess just talk about the other side. Like when I think of comfort, that means I'm relaxed, things are peaceful, I'm happy, I'm content. So to me, uncomfortable sounds like the opposite of that. Like stressed, or like it says, at unease or awkwardness, or even feeling like nervous or anxious. Those are things that are unpleasant. So of course, it's only natural to avoid pain. Human nature is to seek pleasure and avoid pain. So to me, uncomfortable is like just a dirty word. Like it sounds bad. It sounds like no fun. That's one of the barriers. Like no one wants to do something that sounds bad, uncomfortable. Why would I want to do that? I like to be comfortable. I like to be happy. I like to be content. It's a negative connotation behind the word itself. When it's like trying something new or being in a place that's unfamiliar around a group of people that's unfamiliar, it doesn't feel good not to be in your comfort zone. That will keep us kind of bound sometimes, or put us in a place of fear where we might not try something new or get out of our own box of comfort, because that's where we feel the most at ease. So the barrier is just not wanting to feel that negative emotion that comes from being uncomfortable.
Right. There's a whole side to it that I want to make sure I make clear for our audience, is that sometimes we are comfortable with the wrong situations, and we talk ourselves into staying in those situations even though we should be getting out. And I think we get used to being uncomfortable because we're scared of the unknown. And so I think the real discomfort comes in is when that fear takes place of leaving something that you have grown accustomed to that may or may not be healthy for you, or that may be causing you from keeping you from growing. I think anything that's keeping you from growing is probably not the best situation. It has maybe served its purpose for when it, was good for you. I think about like a plant. Like when you buy a plant, it comes in this small, vessel, but as it grows, it needs a bigger vessel with different soil. And so it will die if it remains in that, small vessel that you originally brought it in. Realizing that when you outgrow certain things or when it's just time to make a move, that there probably will be a level of discomfort that comes along with it, but it's more important for you to grow than die. I did want to say
exactly. Yeah, and I think we'll definitely talk more about that later on in the episode. One thing that came to mind when you were talking was that sometimes, or a lot of times, things start off uncomfortable, but the longer you remain there, it becomes comfortable. And that goes back to you saying sometimes we get stuck in a situation that we should get out of because it's become comfortable. But we don't think about the fact that at one point it was uncomfortable. Like when you first start something new, or like even like I'm thinking of like when you're going in a pool, like sometimes it's cold, but you jump in and eventually you get used to the temperature. And then at that point, getting out feels uncomfortable, because once you get out after you've gotten used to the temperature of the pool, it feels colder out of the pool, so you want to get back in. So when you first jumped in, it was like, oh, this is ice cold, but then it starts to get warm the longer you stay in there. Even the opposite, like a hot temperature, like if you put your feet in some hot water, like it might be hot when you first put them in there, but the longer you sit there, you get used to the temperature, and then it feels good after a while. So just kind of thinking back at anything that it was uncomfortable to me at first, the longer I remained in it, the more I got comfortable in it. But I had to be careful not to get too comfortable in a situation where I need to move forward, or I need to do something else, or get uncomfortable again, so that I can kind of level up and get better, or put myself in a different position. So just kind of reminding yourself that the discomfort most of the time is temporary, and not dwelling on the fact that it's going to be uncomfortable, but thinking about the fact that it's only going to be discomforting for a short amount of time relative to the time frame of how long I remain in the situation.
And that's not to say you should just be jumping here and there, but I think you should judge your motives for what you do. If I'm making a move or not making a move, I should look at my reasons behind it. Is it out of fear? Is it out of jealousy? Is it out of just disgust? Whatever it is, just really searching your heart and your soul, and sort of just seeing, what are my motives for staying or leaving? I think a lot of us get caught up and we just kind of stay stagnant because we don't really search our motives. And so then we really don't have faith in our decisions.
Yeah, you definitely want to look at the reasons behind it. We're specifically talking about making decisions. Yeah, some of the times when you're making a change or something that's something major or big, you definitely want to consider your motives and your reasonings why, because those are the things that are going to keep you going when you start to doubt, or you start to get in fear. You start to feel like maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or maybe it's too hard, or it's going to take too long. That's kind of something you could think back and say, well, I know clearly why I'm doing this, and that helps me keep going and pushing past those moments where you can get doubtful about why you're making that change or putting yourself in that uncomfortable situation temporarily.
So I think that kind of, I think your point was really good. And I think another thing that I was going to add to it kind of takes us into some of the four ways that we get better at being uncomfortable. And one of those is sort of being able to write the vision, plan things out, having goals and sticking to it. Because I don't know about you, Charlene, but I don't need anybody to help me doubt myself. But it's important for you to have a plan of action and reasons why. What's your why? When you face stumbling blocks, to be able to go to something and see your goals and see your plans is super important.
Yeah, because that goes back to the fear of the unknown. But if you have a plan, then you kind of can know what to expect ahead of the time. And of course, there's going to be some curveballs and things don't always go accordingly or as you've planned them, but having that plan gives you a little bit of security to know that what you're going to face, you can handle. And then also, like you said, going to the next point of some ways that you can help deal with discomfort is acknowledging those benefits and those things that are going to come once the plan is successful and once you get on the other side. So just kind of making a list of what you hope to see after you grow or after you change, after you get past that point of pain and discomfort. Like, what are the good things that are going to come from it? Yeah, so an example of this is like when you decide to get back in shape and you want to start working out. That first day at the gym, you get your workout on, you do your muscle work, you do your cardio, and then like the next 2 or 3 days after that, you're just in pain. Like all your muscles are sore and you can barely walk. But you think about what's on the other side of that pain, and that's, I'm going to be more healthy, I'm going to be fit, my body's going to look right, I'm going to get it right and keep it tight. So that's what pushes you to go past that discomfort. So with anything, just thinking about those benefits, so what's going to be on the other side? Like, it's summertime, I'm going to be summertime fine. So I just got to go through this pain for a little bit. So just kind of thinking about that, and thinking about too the times in the past, like drawing on your strengths from a time where you've been able to overcome something, or you've been able to get through a time where it was a struggle, or things got a little shaky, or you got, in a place of discomfort, but you came out on the other side like successful and a winner. Those are the things that can help you get better at being uncomfortable and being okay with being uncomfortable for a time.
And I think those are really good points, because when you are working out, like in order to build muscle, you actually are breaking down your muscles, and so that is painful. But that's how they grow back. That's how they get stronger and they heal and they get bigger. And so even when we talk about our emotional IQ and all of that, like that's the same thing. Sometimes we go through things and if we run away from being uncomfortable, then we'll never be able to strengthen that part of ourselves. And then our fear is what we actually strengthening. We're just kind of reinforcing ways or reasons why we shouldn't do something, because we're strengthening because we're running away. And so that's actually what you end up building up. You end up building up your fight or flight reaction to something that might not be harmful, which kind of brings me to the last point, which is what I would like to call the butterfly effect. I know for myself, well, for us, recently we made some business moves, and for me, I always have these butterflies in my stomach when I'm about to do something new, including flying, because I do not like to fly. Don't ask me why. It wasn't like I had this big trauma behind it. It just kind of came out of nowhere. Well, I don't believe it came out of nowhere, but I don't know where it came from. Anyways, you get the butterfly effect where you get these butterflies in your stomach, and it makes you want to just kind of go into panic mode. You fight, flight, or freeze. And you have to sit back and say, okay, what are these butterflies from? And I'm probably going to always get these butterflies when I'm about to approach something new that's possibly going to put me in an uncomfortable situation or put me out of my comfort zone or make me grow. And I shouldn't always be running away from it. I think you have to become familiar with yourself and really sit down and evaluate the situation. Should I be running away from this, or am I running because I am uncomfortable?
Yeah, because you will lie. We will lie. You can lie to yourself sometimes, and you can take a fear and you can accept it as truth and fact, when that's not always the case. And so fear is an emotion that is necessary at times because it keeps you out of danger, but sometimes it's an enemy, and it's there not to be a warning, but as just a false thing. And you have to recognize, like, when something is a lie and it's just you acting out of emotion rather than out of reality and rational thinking. So is it rational to be afraid of things that can help you or that can make you better? Is it rational to think the worst can happen in times where something exciting could happen, or something positive could come from you stepping out and doing something out of your comfort zone? That's what you have to ask yourself sometimes. Is this true? Am I being rational? Or is this a warning to prevent me from hurting myself? Or is this just a lie that's going to keep me from living my best life and being able to elevate myself and to grow. You can't keep that plant in that small pot. Like it's just not gonna work. So yeah, that's a great point. Check yourself sometimes and sit with yourself and think, are these butterflies really a bad thing? Or is it just a natural response to something new? Like, it's typical sometimes to get nervous or get afraid of doing something new. That doesn't mean stop and don't do it. It means acknowledge they're there, but I need to push through it anyway, because that's how I grow, that's how I change, that's how I get better at anything. And I wanted to talk about what I use with my clients a lot when we talk about getting uncomfortable, because a lot of my clients I work with are kind of adolescent age or teenagers, and they kind of seem to get this analogy a bit better when I use it with them as it relates to change, because a lot of times they're not motivated to change their behavior. So when I talk about uncomfortable, so the thing I put them through is I ask them, okay, you're sitting in that chair or that couch, wherever they're sitting at the time, and I say, okay, get comfortable, sit comfortably, adjust yourself so you're comfortable in the chair, and they do. And then I say, okay, now if there was a big metal spring poking out of the back of that chair and stabbing you in the back, would you continue to sit there? Would you continue to sit how you are? And of course they say no. And I say, well, what would you do? They would say, well, I would get up or I would move. And I say, right, because you're not going to sit somewhere that's uncomfortable. But if there wasn't anything poking in your back and you were comfortable, you would just remain there as long as you were able to. And so it's not until you get uncomfortable that you make a move.
Right.
And so sometimes it's necessary to get uncomfortable in order for you to move. Because if I'm comfortable, I'm chilling, in a nice, comfy, lazy boy, I'm just going to kick my feet up and remain there until, oh man, my legs falling asleep, or I laid on my side wrong, or I slept on my arm. Now I got to get up and move because I'm uncomfortable.
Right.
So just using that, they're kind of like, oh, okay, I realize that in order to change, sometimes I do have to get uncomfortable. Sometimes I do have to feel a little pain in order to move. Because as long as something feels good, I'm going to just remain there. And so realizing that feeling good is not always a good thing, because it will keep you stuck in a place where you're kind of in a box and you can't grow and you can't experience anything new unless you get up and make a move. I might be comfortable in this chair, but man, somebody might be doing something exciting outside and I miss it because I wouldn't get up from my comfortable seat.
Yeah.
Or I missed out on something that I could have experienced if I had just got up and made that move.
So I think it kind of brings us to the point where I want to mention you have to do baby steps when you're doing this. Not beating yourself up that you can't open that business right away or buy that car you want right away, or it doesn't have to be monetary, but whatever your goal is that seems so big or so scary that you can't move, going back to the point of just having a plan and doing it slowly, having baby steps. Just the first step could literally be just deciding to stand up out of the chair with a spring been sticking you in the back, or getting a pen and paper and just saying, I'm going to write one goal today, one action step today. And it doesn't have to be big. It just has to be something. Sometimes we all just need a win. So set yourself up to have some wins, some small victories. And that's what builds your confidence. Like we said, you have to grow that muscle of faith versus that muscle of fear. That starts with baby steps sometimes.
Exactly. Those are just some ways to get better at getting uncomfortable. A nice, little start, a jump off, because we're hoping that, like us, you can step into a new season. We stepped into this new venture together of branching out on our own and getting into private practice, and it's definitely uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable.
But it's what's on the other side that we look forward to and we hope for and we believe for. So definitely you're going to see more podcasts coming from us. You're going to see more events. You're going to see more videos. You're going to see a lot of new things. We're going to be getting out of our comfort zone. So, make sure that you stick with us and you tune in for more I Get Better podcast. And like, share, comment, subscribe. You can also send us questions or topics that you want to see discussed on the show, or just give us some feedback and some comments on some ways that you plan to get uncomfortable. What is something that you're going to do to step out of your comfort zone over the next 30 days? So we want to hear from you. Keep striving and going forward, even when things are scary, even when there's that fear, those butterflies, and recognize that those aren't there necessarily to warn you, but sometimes they're there to push you to get to the next level.
So yeah, guys, so until next time, let's keep getting better so we can do better in order to be better.